Okay, sports fans, we are going to do part 4 today, and hopefully this is going to be the full-on monochromatic sketch, value study, and color. Short on time here, we might just end a little bit short, but I'll try to go quickly. Okay, so these are the colors that I recommended you put on your palette. This is just a wax paper palette. It's titanium white, cadmium yellow hue, cadmium red hue, cobalt blue hue. The paints that say hue on them are cheaper. They've got less pigment in them, but for student works, that's totally okay. This is burnt umber. I like burnt sienna, but I didn't have any. Anyway, so we're going to make do without even the burnt umber. Keep it real simple. That's what I'm trying to teach you how to do, is keep it real simple. So there's those colors. Always need white, usually about twice as much. Here are the brushes that we discussed here, plus a couple of more. But this is a filbert, a number 4 filbert. I'm sorry, that's number 6 filbert. And then we got 2 rounds right here on the far left. They're both number 4, even though those shapes look different. One's a little pointier, one's kind of rounder at the tip. I don't know why. A couple things we didn't discuss last time was lighting. Okay, so I'm in my garage, obviously. And right up here, we have a bank of fluorescent lights, and these are special daylight mimicking fluorescent lights. I'm going to show you what that's about here. I got these at the hardware store. What you're looking for is these bulbs are just the same price as other bulbs now, and everybody's buying them. Back in the day, it was tougher, but see this color temperature thing here? It says 5,000 Kelvin, that K. That's a light temperature thing. It's not a degree temperature. So the color temperature 5000 K is going to give you a good natural neutral sunshine kind of a color, because you've got to be very sensitive to what the lighting is like when you're doing any kind of a painting. If the lighting's not exactly like that in the studio you display in, it's going to look weird. Do not paint under normal fluorescent lights. Your painting will just look weird. Okay, also you don't want to paint under the influence of incandescent light. See how yellow that is compared to this more of a neutral white here? That's not yellow, it's not blue, but these incandescents are yellow, and that's going to throw off your color judgment. The painting will look good if your studio has got incandescent lights, but it probably doesn't. So you might be asking me, why do you have that incandescent light on over there? Well, it's so far away, and I've got 2 banks of fluorescent bulbs here that it's gonna, that little tiny bulb over there is not gonna really have an effect on this. Okay, this was the scene we were painting right here. This is cropped down from a larger image, and I've changed it significantly, so I'm not concerned about anything with this. And I'm going to do an oil painting of it as well. So no worries there about the artist that took this, took the larger photograph, which I've changed significantly here. But that's what it was. You remember from the parts 1, 2, and 3. And then we did this thumbnail sketch dealio here. And then we drew these lines here. And by the way, I've got these nitrile gloves on. Really great to help clean up and keeps the chemicals stuff off your hands. Okay, so we got the sky here, light purple, light blue, and then this is kind of a transition zone between the two. This is the cliff. This is kind of a green blue water. This is green water. We can make these guys whatever we want. Probably can just be a darker, maybe a brown, kind of in shadow. This is white. That's the forward edge of that wave. And this is dark brown, because that's wet. This is light brown here. I've decided to get rid of this shadow right here, this really dark brown. That's the technical term. Get rid of that. I don't know, it's kind of weird, throws everything off. I'm gonna add these cliffs back in there and there. It gives a pretty interesting way for that cliff to end. So I'm gonna put those back in there. One thing I like to do is a value study right on the canvas. We're going to mix up just a little dark paint, kind of mix some turpentine with it, and then we're going to just paint it on here and kind of get everything looking good. Give you a sneak preview. I did this already, and that's kind of what we're aiming for. That's just a shadow right up here. That's not really paint. You see it goes from dark to light. There's some cliffs. There's those 2 rocks. Here is that forward edge of that wave. Here's a couple of little breakers coming in there. This is supposed to be the dark brown and wet. I might extend that out a little bit more. I probably will bring it all the way out to there. Light brown, there's that rock, and we got the sun coming, I figured out, from the top left. So if I cannot drop those canvases, we'll go back and look over here. You'll see the sun is coming from the top left and hitting this, hitting right there, and you can see it's hitting the top of this rock here, and in fact that's what's causing this shadow here. It's from this big old cliff, which we are going to get out of there. So it's always important to know that. Another thing that's important to know is what drew you to the scene. There's some questions you should ask yourself when you're starting to do a painting, and it's really important, or you're going to not really understand the focus of your painting. So ask yourself, what drew you to this? Well, I've always loved this kind of perspective view of this foam drawing you in. It's almost like a big white path, and it gets thinner and thinner and thinner with these people out there. It gives you some scale. It's really cool. I like the colors as well. There's kind of light green, greenish blue, darker over here. That's pretty cool. And these cliffs are pretty cool. They kind of structurally got these big, hard, vertical stone cliffs and soft sand down here. Just looks like kind of a neat, I don't know, neat place to be, I guess. It looks like a nice warm day. So I want to try to capture that on the painting. Also, you got to decide, am I going to capture exactly, what you see, or are you going to change it to make it look, nicer, maybe more sellable? What I would recommend is you paint what you want to paint, and if people buy it, people buy it. Then you're always happy with your work and you're always satisfied. You're not painting to please somebody else. Reference that list of questions. Here's my little supply list. This is, by the way, a little Gorilla painting box that I take out when I go painting out in plein air, they say, out in the outdoors. Here's my list of materials. I'm not going to go over those now. You can email me or put it in the comments about these colors and everything, what I might do there. But this list of questions is really important too. What attracted me to this scene? I don't know if you can see it. I'll try to focus that. Composition, colors, values. Are the darks warm and the lights cool, or vice versa? We touched a little bit on color temperature earlier. Cool is kind of bluer. Warm means it's kind of redder or yellower. So you got to decide, are the darks warm or cool? And if they are, then the lights are the opposite. What's the dominant color of the whole scene? Is the scene kind of high key, in other words, really bright light, low key, all somber, or is it broad key? It goes from very light to very dark. Now here's one. This scene spans how many steps of tone? What's likely to change as I'm painting? That's more for outdoors, not for in a studio. Oh, here's a critical one. We're just going to skip down 2 or 3. How do I imagine the finished painting to look like? That's really important. Sometimes I look at a photograph and I go to sleep and I let my brain paint it before I start. And that's an excellent, I would not start a painting unless I was already imagining what I wanted it to look like when I was done. Kind of envision success. And then the rest of that stuff doesn't matter right now. Okay, so over here, we've got these colors. We're going to go ahead and mix up some of that stuff, some darker paint, just to do a quick monochromatic sketch on the canvas. And one question on that list was, how many steps of tone are there? And what we mean by that is this. Let's go over here and look at this one. I think this is better. Okay. Steps of tone. So ignore color. We're just talking about the darkest dark to the lightest light. How many steps are there between those? And you might say, well, there's infinite. Well, there are. But simple paintings are strong paintings. Okay, they seem to appeal to more people. They appeal to me. Paint what appeals to you. The more complicated the painting, the bigger risk you are that you're going to lose your message. It's kind of like a joke. Brevity is the something of wit. I can't remember that word, but the heart of wit, the spice of wit, something. Keep it short and simple, and that gives you strength of painting. So let's talk about these tones, okay? I would say here, I decided that I'm going to have 5 tonal steps. So my lightest light is going to be these white waves coming in. The darkest dark, and I didn't quite succeed doing it here, but the darkest dark is going to be these cliffs, especially the base of these cliffs. So that's going to be a level 1 tone. This is a number 5 tone. I would then say that this is a 2. That's a 2. No, I would say this is a 2. This is going to be a little bit darker than this. So 1, 2, and then this is going to be a 3, and that'll be a 3. Now, out here, this is going to be a 4, and of course, that'll be a 5. So what would you think that this field of grass up on the top of this cliff would be? What does it most look like in the painting? I would say it most looks like this. And what was this? 1, 2, 3. So that'll be a 3. So as you're doing this monochromatic sketch in, you know, you're going to be putting that much paint on. You put more and more paint on, thicker and thicker to get it darker and darker. There's your 5. Let's go to the sky. So this is about like that. That's a 1. That'll be a 2. And maybe that looks kind of about the same as this. That's about a 3. I know this looks a little bit darker than that, but we can't get it perfect. Okay, so let's go back to the original scene. Okay, let's look at that again. Okay, let's look at that. 1, 2, 2. Oh, sorry, 2 is this light sand, and that was a 3. That's a 3, that's a 3. This gets a bit darker, so that's a 4, and that kind of looks like a 4 up there. And then this dark, dark. That's the darkest dark, and it's right next to the lightest light. And that can attract people's eyes to your center of interest here. You got to decide, what is your center of interest? What's the object? The object might be these people. It might just be these waves right here. You got to decide that for yourself. Whoopsie daisy. Okay. So if that's, what did we say? A 4. That would be a 1. See the 1, level 1 tone. Then this is obviously going to be between a 1 and a 4. That could be like a 3 in here, maybe a 2 in there. Okay, so we've decided that. That's really good. Now I'm going to show you how to quickly jump in here, get you a good quality palette knife. Here's my favorite palette knife. I think this is stainless steel, easy to clean off. Got a nice, good, solid wooden handle. Don't use the plastic ones. I mean, you can, but it's tougher to work with those. Okay, I'm going to show you. Pardon me while I mess with the video there. All right, so we are going to take a little bit of blue here. Okay, we're just going to grab it, put it right there. Okay, now I'm going to take a bit of red as well. And you know what? I think we're going to need more red there for this painting. Okay. Yeah, we're going to need some more cadmium red hue there. And then if we want to get it a little bit brown, dark, we'll grab a little bit of yellow. Okay, now we're doing that with the back of the palette knife, and we're just going to mix it all up here. It feels like butter. It's kind of a pleasant feeling. Okay, and I'm just going, tilting it left, tilting it right, and just mixing it up real good there. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to paint over most of this anyway. Okay, there we go. And of course there's always some left there, so we're going to squeegee that off of there. Now we're going to save a little bit of that for, we would save a little bit of that for when we want it really thick and dark and black. So we don't want to dilute too much of that, so I'm just going to go like this. And we're going to take the rest of this, and we are going to take and get some, just use your palette knife like a spoon here, and we're going to put that on there. I bet you we're going to need a little bit more. And there you go. We're going to mix that up. And this is just going to be kind of the ink with which we use to draw this block-in thing I'm talking about, where we draw the outlines of all those shapes, and then we're going to start toning it up. And we would end up trying to make a finished tonal monochromatic sketch thing like I showed you at the beginning there. We're just going to start this and then fast forward. Okay, it's a little thick still. Let's grab some more turpentine. We've got plenty of paint to work with here for sure. And since the tonal painting is already really done on that other canvas, we're not going to end up using this. So I shouldn't have mixed it all up, but I really wanted you to see how to do that so you feel comfortable, okay? This is just wax paper. Palette here, simple to clean up and throw it away. And as you go through, let's say you want to clean off that palette knife, you could do it on a rag, but that's what I keep the toilet paper around for here. Just boop, boop. Side note, if you were to buy a set of palette knives, like I've got a set hiding here, underneath there, people paint with palette knives, and let me tell you, cleanup is easy. Boom, boom, you're done. Alrighty, since we're going to be kind of drawing, we're going to grab this number 4 round, and it's got a kind of a point on it. And what I do is, I make sure, and anytime before I use a paintbrush, I put it in the turpentine. I know this turpentine is kind of milky looking. It's this odorless stuff from the hardware store. Should be okay, but let me tell you, the odorless stuff is so much better for you. It's less pungent, it's more pleasant to work with. So anyway, I dink it, the tips in the turpentine, or the odorless mineral spirits, is what I got here, and let that odorless mineral spirits soak up all the way up to the ferrule there. That way, anytime I put this in paint and the pigment starts running up there, I'm going to have an easier time cleaning that out, because the odorless mineral spirits, I'm just going to call it turpentine from now on, has already gone in there and has coated those fibers to make it easier to clean out later. If it went up there, these pigments went up there dry, you'd have a really hard time getting those out of there afterwards when you're done. Okay, so I'm going to just grab this. I always do it like this. I take a rag and I keep it handy, just kind of like this. By the way, I got these nitrile gloves really cheap at a restaurant supply store, actually. I mean, this was like $3 for hundreds in here. I don't know how many are in there. These are powder free, no latex. There it is, 100 pairs for $3. Man, you could use these all over the place when you're doing stuff around the house. Makes cleanup really easier. Okay, I've also got a painting shirt on, and we're gonna put that canvas back up there, and I'm gonna just show you how simple this is and start it, but then we're gonna switch over to that one that's done there, okay? Make sure you can see that. Okay, there we go. Now here's our thumbnail sketch, you will. It's a little bit larger than the thumbnail. It's about 4 inches by 4.5 there. We've got the original view over there if we want to kind of look over there for reference. But you can see this stuff is just dripping down the palette there. That's okay. Take a little bit of turpentine off of there. Pick up some of this. Okay, well, here we go. All right, I think this cliff starts, let's see, not at the halfway point, but maybe a little bit higher, and it's going to come in and go down, over, out, and come down, and then out like that. Okay, then there was a little cliff, like a rock kind of thing sticking up over here, and a little tiny one over there. Okay, and then this came back in, and geez, I remember my center of interest. You know, it's a good idea to draw that center of interest first. I think we had a kind of came in like that, and then came out. It's pretty cool. And I kept it pretty thin, and then got bigger. Now it's that big oncoming wave. So that really can really draw you in, you know. I like that way that bends back like that. Kind of comes out, bends back. That's going to be thinner over there. Okay, there we go. Then we had some waves right there, and I think there was a cliff kind of came down right there like that. That looks cool. And then there was another kind of little breaker over here, I believe. And good. Now out here in front of all this was kind of a darker brown area, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, that was darker brown. Okay, and that big old rock cliff thing that was right here, I'm going to get rid of that, but I'm going to put that one in. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit more turpentine, so I'm going to pick a little bit up there, because we're trying to be conscious of how dark this is going on. And you're going to get a feel for that. You just got to get a feel for that. If there's too much, just dink it on your brush there, you'll get a feel for that. If it starts getting real soupy, you got too much turpentine there. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's interesting. Well, we can put that rock in there. That's going to be kind of a little bit of a foreground. Every good painting seems to kind of have a good foreground, middle ground, and background. Okay, and we're going to leave that light on the top there like that. Okay, then this kind of comes out like this. This might be up and up like that. Okay, great. We could have some light come down and hit that. Then there was that field that was kind of on top there, that kind of grass field. Okay, now let's see. Are we missing anything? Oh yeah, so we started off and it was kind of dark up there. I think I'm getting okay, that's okay. That's all right there. Get a little bit of this here. It's kind of darker up here. Now we're getting into some tonal discussions, aren't we? Because we're not drawing that shape, we're actually painting that shape in. It's called a mass block in. All right, and we're gonna fade that out all the way over to like here. So this might be a good time to talk about tones. All right, I'm gonna switch brushes since I'm gonna start blocking things in. So I'm just gonna snap this thing right in turpentine there, keep it fresh. And I'm gonna grab this filbert brush here. Okay, this is the filbert brush. Okay, it's soaked in turpentine, it's a little bit too much. Take that off the iPad, dink it there a little bit. There we go. Okay, now, this was gonna be a 5, this was gonna be a 1, that's a 2, that's a 3. So let's see what we got going on here. Let's start over here with, ooh, that's pretty dark. That looks like a 4. Okay, so there's 4. We're gonna call that, I think, 4 right now. The ocean back that far was 4. Okay, you see I'm just kind of painting around here. I'm not really worrying about too much exactitude here. All right, now that was a 4. Was there anything else that was a 4? Well, the sky was a 4. Okay, so that needs to be a little bit darker to match that. Okay, good, good. Now that's our 1, that's our 2, that's our 3. So this is gonna be really light there. Really light means more turpentine, okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and, there we go, that's a lot lighter. Okay, I'm gonna kind of go up. We might talk about something here next called edges, okay? Now, I know out on the beach, that dark brown, it might not be, where the sand is wet, might not be just a perfectly defined line. It might be more of a lost edge. There, I'm gonna lighten that up a little bit. This is just for practice, really, there. Okay, so that's more of a lost edge instead of being so hard. And this edge looks pretty hard right there, too. Okay, now that's a 2, it's 1, that's a 2. Now this is gonna be a 3. Let's see if we can make that darker by picking up a little bit more pigment here. Just grabbing the edge of that. There, okay, but that looks almost as dark as that. So let's spread that out a little bit. And this is the art right here of technique. You're trying to control that paint, and the better you can control the paint, the better you can get your image across. Now that's a real soft edge, isn't it? We call that a lost edge. A found edge or a hard edge is going to be like that. Like, oh, definitely know where that is. Now that does look lighter than this. This actually looks too dark. So we're not going to worry too much about that, but I just wanted to show you that. Now, if I was going to paint this number 5 here, we're going to pick up a lot more pigment, okay? And we're going to block that in there. Now that looks like about the darkest tone on the canvas. So there's our 5 steps. By 5 steps, I mean a 5-step tonal study. In fact, that's even darker there, which is good. Okay. Pick up a little bit more pigment there. Okay, and anyway, through the process of doing this and adjusting all these tones till they were hitting that 5-step scale, and I've limited the amount of shapes here. I've limited the amount of shapes here. Now that cliff looks lighter than that, right? So let's darken that up. There we go. I've limited the amount of shapes. So like I said, we're keeping this simple, and it's only 5 tones. You can go 7, 3, you're a master if you can do it in 3. There we go. You can eventually accomplish a simple painting. Now, you know what? We're going to need some... that's a 3, this is a 2, and that's a 1, right? So you would do that there. Now, this is going to be the same as this, right? Which is a 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you're going to have this match that. And you're going to do all that, and we're going to fast forward, and voila. It's kind of what we're aiming for there. All right. So, you know what? Might take the opportunity here, darken this up, because when I went to bed last night, I noticed, you know what, that ain't no 5. There we go. Okay, I like the way that cliff kind of goes up like that. Kind of looks like the cliffs of Dover, as far as I understand it. Kind of neat the way they rise up just before they hit the ocean like that. Okay. And I'm leaving that light there because I am thinking that the light is going to come from the top left and hit that. Now that cliff, I don't even believe is in the original photograph, but I like it, so I want to put it in there. Make that a little bit darker, not a big deal. Let's jump into some color. All right, leave your questions in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer them. And before we get started, I want to make that come out a little bit. Now that came out real dark, didn't it? Okay, so I'm brushing the turpentine out of my brush and I'm going to suck some of that pigment right back up into my brush and off the canvas because I put too much on. So that's the thing you can do. The capillary action of these hog bristles, these are actual hog bristles off the back of a hog. You know, capillary action. You put that in the turpentine, it'll suck it up. If it's dry and you put it on the paint, it'll suck the paint up. And these figures here, by the way, I think they're too big. That guy's huge for what I perceive as his distance. So I'm gonna make him smaller, but we can do that when we paint. Speaking of painting, let's do it. I got all this dark paint here. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna kind of get this up and out of the way. In case I need some dark later, might need that, but I don't have an enormous canvas. I'm sorry, palette. I'm gonna get this kind of up and out of the way and tell it to behave itself over here. Crying out loud. Okay, and I'm gonna need to use all this other acreage over here too. So I'm gonna get that out of the way, squeeze off the bottom of that. Now you remember how we clean off our palette knife, just right on the top there like that. Bottom, top, there we go. And this brush, I'm gonna take the paint out of that, and then we're gonna suck up, we're gonna put that right in there and suck up some turpentine. Remember, that's not really turpentine, but okay, there we go. That's good to go. All right, we can leave that wherever. Okay, now we are running a little bit low on paint, my friends. So I got these big old tubes of paint here. You know, put enough out that you can be comfortable. You don't know how much you're gonna need out there, really. In this kind of scene, there's some green, so we've got some browns going on, so we're gonna need a little bit of yellow, probably not much more than that. Okay. Keep a pair of pliers around too to take these lids off. When you go back to paint with them again, those can be tough to take off. I like the paint tubes with a big diameter lid on them, because then you get some good mechanical advantage when you're really trying to crank those off. Believe me, you're gonna need a pair of pliers sometimes to get those off. Okay, get enough paint out there you don't have to stop and do this before you start painting again. And obviously we're gonna need a lot of blue, okay? Now we're not gonna be able to match, I don't think, the tones in that original photograph exactly, but we're gonna keep it simple, and you'd be surprised, I know I am, by what you can do with a simple palette. Another key benefit to having a real simple palette is that it kind of harmonizes all the colors on your painting, because they all came from the same three colors and white. Just gonna clean this off here. Same three colors and white. Now, if every single color in your painting came from the same three and white, it's gonna be hard to mess that up and have colors looking wildly different from each other and like they don't really belong together. And of course, we're not doing the whole painting in one color, but all I'm saying is the same ingredients. Oh, key point for safety. You got a rag with turpentine in it, maybe oil paints. Don't put it right in the trash can like I almost did. What you're gonna wanna do is, I can't find my coffee can, but you're gonna wanna put these in a coffee can overnight, a few days, whatever. Those can spontaneously combust. Start a fire, burn down your whole studio and garage and everything. So, safety tip there. Alrighty, let's get this turned back on. Okay. Pardon me while I key in my passcode for the iPad and get that back up. Okay, that's kind of what we're aiming for. My painting is not going to look too much different than that. My envision image is this was going to be a rough version of that, and it's going to be loose, impressionistic, and fun. Okay, but it's generally going to look kind of like that. This rock is super complicated right there. My painting is not going to have that complicated rock in it, but it's going to have a rock over there. I'm going to have people spread out in different places than they have there. Alrighty. Now we're going to talk about painting. When you're doing a painting, what you want to do with oils is you want to paint. There's three things to keep track of when you're painting. You want to paint back to front, so background, midground, foreground, because you're laying successive layers of paint on top of the previous layers. So it's going to look weird if you paint the front first and then try to fit the mountains behind it in behind those layers of paint. It's like putting shingles on a roof. You're gonna have successive layers laying on top of the previous layers. So back to front. Then you're going to want to paint dark to light. What seems to just really work really well with oil painting, and it's just the way we do it, and I don't see any reason to not do it this way. You're the artist, do it like you want it, but when you keep your lights real thin, like the paint's not really thick, a lot of turpentine in them, your darks, I hope I said dark just now, when you keep your darks really thin, that's good, that pushes those back, and then your highlights can be thicker paint, and you put those on at the last, on top of the darks. So it's really hard to paint a dark color on top of a light color. It's a lot easier to lay a light color on top of a dark one. And typically when we do a painting, the highlights are light. And so those are going to go on at the very end. So you're going to paint dark to light, just an easier way to apply the paint. It's very tough to do it in the opposite direction. And then what we're going to do is you want to paint lean to fat. Pardon me while I go open up this door. This door has nothing to do with the painting. It's cold out here. I want some heat to come in. Okay, what do I mean by lean to fat? Okay, just think of it this way. Lean means that there's more turpentine in the pigment. Fat means there's less turpentine and more oil. Paint straight out of the tube is thick and it's fun to paint with, but if you're going to lay on successive layers of color, fat paint sticks to lean paint, and lean paint does not stick to fat paint. So as you're progressing through back to front, you're going to go lean, semi-lean, fat, because you're going to be laying that fat paint on over previous layers, and we're painting back to front. So that means those front layers, the foreground, is going to be thicker paint. It's going to have more fat to it, more, you might use linseed oil. or you can use it straight out of the tube, but previous layers have to have had more turpentine in them so that the successive layers stick to it. Okay, so those are 3 things, and I know it's kind of tough, but I just keep cheat sheets like this one by my easel, and I remind myself those kind of things. Back to front, dark to light, lean to fat. So let's jump in. Where are we going to jump in then? What's the furthest back thing? The sky, right? Okay, now, great. The sky also is dark over here and light over here. So we're going to paint this in and then work it on over to there. Because that's all kind of in the same plane, it doesn't really matter. But let's just go ahead and do it in principle's sake. All right, now what you're going to do is go back to your original source painting. And you're going to look at it and go, what colors were those? Well, that's why we did the thumbnail sketch. Light purple, light blue. So we're going to go from light purple to light blue. So this is going to be a mixture of the two. It's not just going from purple to blue, it's also going from darker to lighter. Okay, so let's mix some of that up, and I'll show you kind of how I do that. Okay, purple. How do we get purple? Okay, everybody knows purple is red and blue, right? Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to just jump right out here, and we're going to grab some purple. And I'm looking at, what I do is I take make a little sample color, not too much, it's a little bit too much, and I get it right, and then I multiply, and I get more and more of the same proportion of ingredients. Let's take a little red here. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, that's pretty dark. We got a little red on the right. Oh, purple's starting to show through there. That's nice. Okay, now that color is definitely red. Got a little bit too much paint there. That's definitely a reddish purple, but this is more of a ultramarine blue. Now there's actually a color of paint out there called ultramarine blue. Okay. But we're gonna keep this simple. Okay, now there we go. Now that has definitely got some blue to it. Let's grab a little bit more of this red. Mix it up in there. Okay, now I want to scrape this over my palette here and let some of that white palette show through and think, so I can get an idea of what's in there. Okay, that's definitely an ultramarine blue looking thing. And then clean off that stuff, take some of this, and I'm going to take that, and in the same light as my canvas is in, and the same light as my scene, I just hold it up right like that. Not in shadow, oops, sorry. Not in shadow like that, but in light like that. And I look at it and I go, is that matching up with the color that's right behind it right there? Like, you know what? Not really, it's too dark, isn't it? So we're gonna grab some light. Now here's some fun with light, okay? What you wanna do is grab a little bit of light and start with the light, I should say white first. You start with the white and add dark to it. If you try to lighten up dark, you'll be pouring tons of titanium white in there, and it'll take forever, a huge volume of paint to get that up to what you need. So what I do is I just took a little smidgen off the back of the palette knife of white and put it there. Then I added the darker paint to the white. That will save you a lot of frustration and a lot of money. There we go. Now look at that color. Now that's looking like something out there. Okay, let's do what I taught you. Let's pick that up on the back of my palette knife. Get a nice good, there it is. Get a nice good mix there. Then I'm gonna hold it up to my scene. Okay, now tell me where that matches. It's too dark there. Oh man. You got some light coming off of there. I'm having a hard time seeing what you're seeing. Okay, that's a little bit too light for there. Looks like it's coming in right about there. So that's going to be our mid-tone. That's that mid-band right here. Okay, so we can go ahead leave a little bit of that behind so we can use that as a recipe, a visual recipe. But for fun, we can go ahead and start just putting that on there. We could use a brush if we want. Pretty cool. All right, let's mix a bunch more of that up now. Remember, we took some white, put it there. Okay, then we took some of this color here and added it to it. Now, I know we're supposed to paint the light first, so that's okay. Let's go ahead. Now remember, on the original scene there, that is not pure white by any means. That's closer to pure white. This is very light blue. So what we have here is some very light blue. So that might be our very light blue. Take a bunch of this white. There we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit of that white that's left over. We're going to need some more because we're going to mix up a volume of this for that mid band of blue there. We're going to grab some of this, put it in there, and see if this matches that. It's kind of like a little visual recipe thing. Okay, it's looking like we're still a little bit light, which is good because you can darken that light up. It's very hard to lighten the light up once you go too dark. Okay, we're getting there. Getting there, that's pretty close. You're going to tune your little Mark I eyeball in here over time, and you'll be more tuned in on what colors are, and that's really fantastic training for your eye to do that. There's some lighter blue. Okay, now we're running out of that darker blue that we're going to need from up there, and that's kind of our source there. So let's now it's not that dark. Okay, clean off my palette knife, grab some light. There's your white. Now we're going to mix that into it. And we're aiming for this to be darker than this, and this to be darker than that. And remember now, this is going to be about a 1. Not quite, you know, it's more of a 2, isn't it? Yeah, it's more of a 2. Okay, that's going to be kind of our 2 there. That's going to be our 3, and this will be kind of our 4 up here. So those should progress. There shouldn't be any large jumps in tone through there. And it's always fun to get the sky on because it's usually a big portion of the acreage on your palette, on your canvas, and you feel like, ah, look at that. I got something done. Okay, fun times. Now remember, I said paint lean to fat, so I know this is all thick here, all buttery. We're going to have to lean this up a bit if we want this mountain color to stick to it. Or we can forget that, and we can just paint it right up to the edge of these cliffs and deal with that there. We got to decide though, the thicker stuff is going to draw the viewer's eye to it, wherever that thick paint is, be it dark or light. And I really don't want the eye to be drawn to the dark, to the sky. So I am going to go ahead and thin that up, even though we don't have to. Okay, now with this volume of paint, are we going to have enough? I don't know if we're going to have enough. I think we're going to have to mix up a bit more, especially that lighter blue there. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to have to do that. So let's go ahead and do that again. Grab a little bit of the cobalt blue. Now we're aiming for that, so we're going to go next to it right there. Remember, we grabbed a bit of red. Okay, we didn't grab any yellow at all. Okay, and then we kind of spread it out here. That's a nice purple there. Okay, now remember what we did. We set this dark away, and we're going to mix the dark into the light, not the light into the dark. Okay, there's our light. Can you see that okay? There's our light. Okay, we're going to take a little smidge of the dark and mix it into there. Okay, getting close. Now that actually looks purpler than that. So that means that's okay. We can mix those up. But that sky looks less purple and more blue, so it looks like I messed up. We're going to need a bit more blue in that mixture to take that little bit of red out of there. It looks a little bit too ultramarine there for that mid-tone. Now that is getting a little bit dark, isn't it? Okay, now we don't want to go into that trap of trying to lighten up something dark, so we're going to set that off to the side, grab some more light. Okay, kind of see what's coming off the palette knife first here, because there's always a little bit left. Now that's looking a lot more blue than purple. Okay, pardon me while I adjust the camera a little bit here. Okay, it's looking pretty good there. There we go. Okay, it needs to be a little bit darker. Grab a little bit of this, mix it in there, getting really close there. Okay, I like it. It's good. We're going to call that good enough. So this is all now, in my mind, one color. Okay, so now you tell me, how's that look? 2, 3, 4. And now how does it look over here? I'm going to take, like I did before, and take the back of that knife, hold it right up to my scene. Sorry about that. You know what, that needs to be darker. That's pretty much right there, isn't it? Okay, let's go ahead and put that on for funsies. We can mess it around with some turpentine later, but just for fun, let's go ahead and put that on there. I'm going to commit to that, okay? Put that on. Okay, now you know what that means. That means there's no use for this one here. That's too light. Well, you know what? That's okay. That's okay. It's a learning experience. So now if that's our sky color there, and that it was what? This is a 1, that's a 2, and that's going to be a 2. That means this is a 3. So that means this right here, this stuff here is probably, I'll clean off my thing there. Okay, that means let's take some of this. That means this is going to be, this color right here is going to be this big band there. So I'm going to spread it out on the back of my palette knife. So I get a good sample there. Good broad. Okay, now let's hold it up. Oh, heck yeah. That right there. And I think this is coming out a little bit differently for what you're seeing. Maybe like that. Okay. That is really matching up with this second level here. So we're going to need a lot more of that instead of a lot more of this other second one here. And we're not going to need any of this. That's okay. And we're going to scrape that off and move it off to the side. But okay, this now is going to be here. That's this darker one. And we're going to need to mix up a lot more of that darker one, aren't we? Okay, well, this is looking fun already. I'm liking it already. It's so cool. I'm going to push this back a little bit so we try to eliminate some of that shadow. And if my fishing rods weren't in the way, back here, we can push this back, can we? What's stopping me from going back there? Excellent. Things are breaking. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's as good as that's going to get. Pardon me. Okay. I'm a one-man band here, my friends. Okay, so let's not lose track. That's one thing that can be really frustrating with oil painting is kind of losing track of what you're doing. So, oh, the video's on. No, I'm kidding. But it's a good idea to talk out loud to yourself just to help keep track. So now we need to mix up a lot more of this. Now that was some of this with some white. So once again, remember the rule. Start with the light and mix dark into it until you get down to the darkness you want. You bring it down. Trying to bring it up by adding white is a fool's errand. Okay. So now, what do you think? That looks a lot purpler than that. This looks like light purple and that looks like darker blue, right? Okay, so what does that mean? We're going to need more of this, and it would appear that it's still a little bit too purple. So that means we're going to have to go back to and grab some blue. Let's clean off that brush, that palette knife a little bit so we can get kind of a clean sweep through there. Let's see what happens. I just grabbed a little nibbin right off the top of that palette knife there. Okay, that's definitely getting closer. Okay, still too light. You know what? That is okay. Okay, because you can always darken it up. It's very hard, as I've probably beat into you now, it's very hard to lighten up a dark. It's easier to darken a light. Okay, now we've gone a little bit past. We've got a little bit, it's not purple enough. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a little bit of this purpley stuff we already mixed up. And a little bit, smidge at a time. You see how I'm doing that? Just off the tip there. Ooh, that might be a little bit too much. You're going to develop a feel for this, really. And I kind of, you just can't help but accusing your instructor of making it look easy, and I apologize for that, but I am trying to give you an insight here that it is hard. It is hard to keep track, and just these little tiny techniques. I'm just going to do things here that you're just not going to quite pick up on, but I am trying to tell you all the little things I'm doing. Grabbing nibbin by nibbin here of that stuff, and that's a technical word, by the way. And trying to get that to approach that. Pretty daggone good there. Okay, good. That's close enough. All right. Now we got some paint there, and it ain't a lot. And we're going to lighten that up, aren't we, with some turpentine when we go over here. So I'm trying to judge now whether that amount of paint is going to cover that when we put turpentine in it. You know what? My gut's telling me we're going to need a bit more. So it's okay. Good training. There's a lot of paint that just came off of there. That might have done it. What was left on the back of that palette knife. Okay, soldiers, we're going to go right in here and jump in, and we're going to start applying this stuff. So I'm going to dink my brush in the turpentine, air quotes. One thing I like to do when I paint as well is I keep that, if I didn't already tell you that, I keep dropping my brushes, and I keep a rag right there. You know what? I need a fresh rag. That one's pretty beat up. Here's one. Old t-shirt, whatever. Okay. Grab that. And I just kind of hold it like this. My pinky's right underneath there. And I always have a nice, fresh, dry piece of cloth there. And my friends, I need to keep track of the time. Okay, my friends, I've got 20 minutes to do this whole painting. Okay, this could be fun, all right? Could be fun. All right, now we got some turpentine already up in the bristles. Let's not lose track of what we're doing. This is going to go there. This here is going to go there, and we don't actually have that mixed up yet. And we said go dark to light, right? Okay, Marv. All right, now, you going to break your rule here? No, I'm not going to break the rule just yet. Let's mix up some of that dark stuff. Now we should be old hands at this by now. Okay, we're going to grab a bit of blue. Okay, we don't need a whole bunch of this. And remember, it's going to be darker, so that means it can be fatter, which means we're going to put a bunch of turpentine in here, so we don't need a whole bunch of source paint. Now this is going to be the purplest of them all, because remember we did our thumbnail sketch, and we decided that was light purple up there. So it's okay if this one is, you know what, let's grab this stuff. Okay, that is still a bit blue, my friends. Let's grab, see how I did that? Just grabbing a smidge of that just to kind of dial that right in there without going overboard. Okay, that's getting there, and that's good enough right there. So now, of course, that's going to be way too dark, right? Let's see here. That's going to be way too dark. So what do? Yep, you in the back. Yeah, that's right. Good answer. I'm going to grab some light and add dark to it. Okay, that's way too light for that. Grab 3 strokes of dark, put it in there. 2 more. Okay, we're going to do a test. Getting there, almost there. 1, 2, that might have done it. You know how chefs have tablespoons and teaspoons and milliliters and ounces and all that? Well, we have our little units of measurement too here. And one of them is a nibbin or a scrape. When I just scrape that off and just put it right on the tip, that's kind of a unit of measure in my mind when I'm mixing up colors. That is pretty daggone close. You know what? That is really close. Just a little bit darker. 1, 2, 3. That is going to do it, I'm sure. You know what? It did not do it. Okay, we're going to just go grab some big nibbins. Okay, we're not fooling around here now. We got a big nibbins going on there. Very good. Perfect. All right. Now, let's jump in here with that number 4 filbert. And we're going to grab a little bit of turpentine. Soak it up there. If I get too much, I can dink it off. Tap it off on my little rag down there. And we're going to go, just like I taught you, we're going to go dark to light and back to front. So here we go, my friends. Remember, we thought it was kind of like that line there. It's going to be all light purple right in there. So up here, that equates to... Okay, the quick decisions are typically your best ones, okay? Oh my goodness, I got all that paint. I don't even need it. That's okay. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, now I'm going to squeegee off that little brush there a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to grab some of this. What is it? It's going to be a 2, 3, and a 4. So this is a 3. Going to grab some of that number 3 blue we made up. That's feeling a little bit thick. Let's grab a little bit of, feels a little bit more buttery. Okay, dink that off. Grab some of this. Okay, now what are we aiming for? Now this is going to go kind of like that. So it's going to start out here and kind of go down over there. Lots of fun here, guys. This is fun. This is good stuff. All right, real good stuff. Okay, there's a lost edge if I ever saw one, right? Okay, now we're gonna go in like that. Good times, good times. And you can mix that up, just boom, 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 right down the side like that. Okay, now this kind of came over like that. That's gonna kind of follow that cliff line. And now, it's always fun to do this. We're gonna grab the light stuff here. Now we're going to put even less turpentine here, right guys? Because it's lean to fat. And we're going to get fatter and fatter here. So just a smidge less turpentine. And we're going to go up here and have all sorts of fun right along that cliff line. Now look, here's our first time we have a tangent with another shape. So that's always the fun of oil painting, and can be a lot of frustration, honestly, is how do you handle that? Do you get loose with that? Or do you get frustrated, you know? And I understand, because sometimes we want to be really exact and we don't want to mess things up, and we're not comfortable with we're not comfortable when things aren't all perfect and coloring within the lines and everything when we color outside the lines. But let me tell you what, friends, if you do all the color shapes correctly, all the tones correctly, get the shapes correctly, and the edges correct, you don't really need to worry about every little edge like that. It'll all take care of itself. So we're going to mix this up a little bit like that here. Okay, good times. And let's see what we want to do here. I'm going to take a little bit of this. Okay, and like I said, the less strokes, I didn't actually say that yet, did I? The less strokes, the better. But I did say the simpler, the better. You get this freedom of expression there, you know, where it just got a real simplicity going on. And this looks a little thin up here. So we have a little guest come in from the neighborhood behind me over here. She wants to watch, but she's a good little guest. Okay, and we're going to get a little bit thicker right up here just to cover that. My friends, the sky is done. What do you think? Okay, let's stand back and look at that. Okay, that looks pretty simple and fun. Let's jump right in. Okay, that was fun. Now look, we used up a lot of our canvas there, or our palette, I should say. I keep saying canvas. So I gotta leave in about 20 minutes here. Let's go ahead and try to get something else done. Now, what are we gonna do next here? We're gonna paint back to front, right? So we are gonna paint, I guess we're gonna paint this grass here on the hills. That'll be fun. Okay, so what do we got there? Now, Linda Tippett, I believe. Let's see who told me that. Huh? No, I said that. This is what I learned. Paint what you see. What color is that? Just paint it. Don't worry about what it looks like, how it looks weird. None of that, okay? Now, what we got here is kind of a yellowish brown, don't we? And it's coming across a little bit different on the iPhone here than I'm seeing actually on the iPad directly with my own eyeballs. It's actually a bit green, but it's a very green vert. Terre vert is what an earth green. It's kind of a color that's out there in one of the tubes somewhere in here. So, we're going to mix that right up, but we're going to need to make some room here as well. So, let's grab some of this toilet paper. Clean off the palette a little bit here. Now, my question is, am I going to need this color before I completely get rid of it? It's a good idea to take some of this color and work it in and around. You're going to see, if you look real close, those blues reflected out here, even sometimes in the sand, even like here where that's might be reflecting the sky a bit. So it's a good idea to kind of keep those colors around, just a little bit of them. You know, you don't have to completely get rid of them. All right, now, wish I had my coffee can. I don't know what happened to it. For now, I'm going to toss these right on this metal workbench there. Okay, it's a quick way to get rid of this stuff. Let's see. Gotta make this stuff happen quick here. I'm going to make a little bank over here. We're going to take this, put it right there. So if I want to grab that later, I can. Bam. Okay, got a little bit of that. Put that there. A little bit of that number, I believe that was a 3. Put that there. Clean off my brush on the toilet paper. I mean, my palette knife. You can use a palette knife like a brush. Maybe that's what I'm saying. And then we're going to take that color we never even used and get it out of the way. And then, you know, you could go over to a fresh piece of palette paper if you want, or you can just grab some toilet paper here and we're going to go ahead and just clean that off. We can even dink it in the turpentine a little bit there. Okay, we need a little bit of red or blue later. Let's save that right there. Okay, it doesn't have to be spick and span, obviously. And you know what? There's that blue there. Okay, we're going to see how we do with that. Toss this for safety on the metal table there. Okay, my friends, we're going to mix up some earth green. Now, it's kind of funny, as I look at this, that looks green to me. So, it needs to be lightened up. There's some light already on the back here. We're just going to go ahead and grab that, and we're going to start doing that like we did the blue, okay? All right, now this is pretty soupy, so I'm going to see if I can control that a little bit by mixing in some straight tube paint here. Gonna grab some yellow, and I'm just kind of playing with this cadmium yellow, and that kind of green is going to get you a real good earth green right now. It's not going to be aqua by any means. It's going to get this real earthy green, like dark grass, you know, like an evergreen tree or a evergreen shrub. Okay, now remember what I taught you? You're going to look at that. Whoa, Marv, way too dark there, Chief. All right, let's back that off. Now, remember, once again, light. Take a smidge of light-colored paint and add the dark to it, just like we did with the white. Okay, now how we doing there? That looks a little bit lighter, but not too much. Okay, we need a lot more yellow in there. So we're going to grab this yellow, move on down here, and you know what? Just for fun, let's see what that looks like before we even mix in any dark, because we grabbed a lot of dark already off the back of that palette knife. That looks pretty good. Now, you see it's kind of light. Sorry about that. It's kind of dark and light there. So we're going to start with that dark in the background. And then we're going to put the lighter paint over it. So this would be the lighter of those two colors. I see two colors, darker, a little bit darker green, a little bit yellower green. So we got two colors there. I think the second one, the darker one, is this one right here. Let's see. Not bad, not bad. It's a little bit too greenish. I need to darken that up. We can darken that up with a little bit of that dark green. Okay, I may have just overdone it, but we'll look. Yeah, and you know what else? Okay, so we're gonna lighten that up. Here's a little bit of light there. I'm gonna grab a little bit of this, lighten it up. I think we're close. But also, if it's looking too vibrant, any color is looking too vibrant, grab the opposite of that color and mix it in, and it'll dull it down a little bit. It'll take the edge off. Oh yeah, it looks almost like Christmas tree green. So what's the opposite of green? You go straight across the color wheel. The opposite of green is red. Okay, I don't have a color wheel to show you, but anytime a color is too intense, grab its opposite, and it'll take the edge off. Okay, the opposite of purple is yellow. The opposite of green is red. And there's one we haven't touched on yet. Green, red, yellow, purple. The opposite of blue is, okay, blue. Take the other two colors remaining on the color wheel. The opposite of blue is these two, orange. The opposite of red is, okay, take these two. What's yellow and blue? Green. What's the opposite of yellow? Purple. Okay, now there we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, now once again, dark to light. So we're going to grab a clean brush here. And what kind of space we painting here? That's kind of a tight space there, so I'm not going to grab my... let's go ahead. We could try it. Grab my big old number. Where'd it go? Did I throw it on the ground again? There it is. We're going to use that same brush, that number 4 bright. It's got a lot of blue in it. So we're going to dink that off. Try to get that light blue out of there. Okay, sometimes underneath there. Oh, the big old honker brush is right there. Okay, you can even scrape it along the bottom. And actually, I bent this up here. This is a good little paint color scraper thing. I usually throw that right in there, right on there like that. And then that helps give me a surface. There it is, I just threw that in there. That helps, kind of like grating cheese. Helps scrape that paint out of there. Okay, on there, we're ready to go. And I'm gonna put this back over my pinky, throw this on there. Now remember, dark to light, so we want a little bit of turpentine. If you wanted, you could take, by the way, a little cup like this, and it's got a little clip on it, and you can put it right on the edge like that, and you could put some turpentine in there. Now I'm gonna dump that whole shooting match here if I'm not careful. Okay, here we go. And watch Marv's Follies. I can't believe that worked. Okay, and that way you got your turpentine right there. All right, we're gonna go. We're gonna, too much turpentine. Okay, remember dark to light and lean to fat. So we're gonna lean up the dark. Okay, now, here we go. All right, we had a little bit there. Boop. A little bit there. I'm just dragging it along sideways, trying to match up against that sky there. Fun times, good times. Okay, fun, fun, fun. Till the daddy takes the T-bird away. All right, boom. Okay, now that cliff is gonna go up like that. Whammo. All right, now, you know what? For continuity's sake, I am looking over at that original image. I see some of that grass color right up there too. It's always a good idea to get your colors to go left to right across your thing. If they stop halfway, it's hard to pick it out at first, but eventually you'll figure out, like, why does that not look like a complete painting? Okay, now there's that little rock out there. I don't know if I'm gonna mess with that too much. I might take a little tiny paintbrush and put a little nibbin of something on there. Okay, now we're gonna scrape off the paint there, and we're gonna go with the lighter stuff. Okay, now that's pretty good. We could put a little bit of turpentine on there just for general principles. Okay, there we go. Okay, now let's look at that original scene here. That light kind of is right there, kind of goes up to the edges, and it's kind of dark up there. So we're just gonna have some fun with that, not worry too much about that. Now we're loading up the paint right on the tips of that brush, because I'm gonna put it on there. It's gonna take that paint, that canvas is gonna suck that paint, pull it off. It's gonna bite into it with some tooth that's in the canvas, in the gesso we talked about. It's gonna pull that paint off. Then I'm gonna clean off my brush and get some more, because as it's pulling it off, it's also, the brush is gonna pick up some of that dark stuff, and we don't want that. So you're gonna pick it up, you're gonna stroke it on, clean it off. Once, then rinse, wash, repeat, right? Pick it up, stroke it on, wipe it off. So you have to have extra paint for that, right? If you're gonna keep wiping that paint off of there. Okay, we're just gonna go right here, one simple whammo. Like it. Okay. Now, once again, wipe it off. Pick up some more fresh paint right on the tips of those hog bristles. And we're going to go up here. Remember I talked about making sure those colors are consistent across there, and we're also going to go down there. Now, I don't quite like the way that kind of started right there. I should have done that better. So we're going to fix that later, but for right now, nice. I really like the way that turned out. Okay, and also we want a little bit of blending between the dark and the light, so I'm going to not wipe it off this time. There we go. And we're going to mix those up a little bit. Not too much, though. Okay, and I might even come back in there. Ooh, that looks cool. Okay, now I want a white highlight on this rock here, so I'm going to pick it right up off the tip of those bristles, just like that. Sorry, you can't see that. There we go. All right, and we're going to go. Make sure you can see that. Okay, here we go. Bam! I'm leaving that. Actually, I'm probably going to dork with that later, but okay, that's way too big a brush for that. Let's take a small one here. Take a small one, maybe a number 4. Clean that off. Okay, this little number 4, or whatever this is, I've been waiting in the wings forever for its moment to shine. 20 seconds of fame here. Take a little bit of that, and we're going to go. You can see that. Here we go. All right. We're going to go. Oh, man. Not perfect, but you know what? It's better to have a simple, imperfect stroke than a perfect stroke made timidity. Okay? So simple, bold, imperfect is better than perfect and timid. Okay, now let's get rid of, there we go. Good enough right there. Took kind of a little bit of that edge off of there. Don't want to attract too much attention over there. Now, how's that cliff looking? You know what I would say? Kind of good enough, but might be a little bit fun is we're going to grab a little bit of white here. I don't want to take the viewer's eye too far off what I intend them to look at, but I do want it to be interesting. So I'm just mixing up a little bit even lighter than all that. And I'm just going to kind of boom and boom. And now I kind of wish I hadn't done that. So I'm going to go back over. Boom, boom. Okay, before I overpaint that, we're going to leave that. Okay, we're just going to leave that. And right after I said we're going to leave that, I went to work with it. Good enough. Okay, good enough. Let's see how we're doing on time, my friends. You know what would be a smart thing for me to do is to stop painting right now and make a part 5. Okay, we're going to have to do a part 5 for this. I have to go. I have an evening commitment here. I'm going to go to a gallery. And no, doing something completely different. What are we going to do next, folks? Remember, back to front. That's the next thing forward, right? Are these cliffs? And that's a number 5. What color do you remember that being? It's almost that color that you got right there, isn't it? Because with this orangey brown showing through, this bluish green, you're going to get orange out of that visually. Let's back up. Look at that. Okay, now let's look at the original. Interesting. Wow, that is really close. We might not even paint that, my friends. Okay, my friends. Now I got a bolt out of here, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my paintbrushes and just dink them right in the turpentine there. I'm going to leave this this rag, because it's got oil and stuff on it, on this metal table for safety, away from the paper, toilet paper, right? And then this here, you know what? I'm going to be gone for a while. So here's a little trick for you. Take your little clip off so you don't spill that. Set that down. If you keep your paints in a freezer, they will dry a lot slower. So my beautiful little wife, she lets me put my oil paints right in the freezer, right next to what we're having for dinner tomorrow night. Okay, so that is it, my friends. Stay tuned for part 5. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope that videography was better. And just remember what we learned. You're going to block it in. Keep a simple palette. You're going to want to establish a simple color or tone scale, 5 steps or 7 steps. If you're going to 9, that's a real complicated painting, and you're really taking a risk there. Keep it simple. A simple stroke made imperfectly is more beautiful than a perfect stroke made timidly. Okay, this is how we started. Remember this, do a little thumbnail sketch and then take it over to your canvas and translate that over. Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tonal steps. Ask yourself, what attracted you to that scene? What was it? Always do a thumbnail sketch ahead of time. Correct things as you go. Paint what you want to paint. Paint what you like. Don't paint what somebody else likes, because then you'll always be happy with your work. And the most pleasurable thing I can imagine as an artist is people buying what I like to paint, not me painting what they like to buy. What else? Simple technique stuff. Okay, simple number of brushes, paper, what do you call it, wax paper palette. These are cheap, these nitrile gloves. You can throw them away, put on they're like 10, 20 cents a piece. I didn't do the math on that. Let's see, $3 for 100, that's 3 cents a piece, I think. 3 cents for a pair even, so 1.5 cents per glove. Get them, save you. Look, hands are almost clean. Be safe, toilet paper, stuff spontaneously combusts. If you can purchase this book, it is an amazing book. Plein Air Painting in Oil. It's expensive. I saw it on Amazon by Frank Serrano, but it is amazing. Okay, it's really helpful. It'll take you through and really help you a lot. Now, these YouTube videos I'm doing, well, look at that. That's kind of the scene we're kind of painting, isn't it? Sort of, without the rocks. The paintings that we're doing are simple 8x10 canvas. Oh, save money with your palette. I'm sorry, your canvas. Masonite, gesso, acrylic tone on the back can help out as well. I was just using this stuff here. And we'll get into linseed oil later. And next steps on video number 5, part 5, we're going to touch up these cliffs. Then we're going to work our way forward. So I think we're going to probably do that sand next. Probably do this ocean here. And then we're going to maybe do the dark sand, do this light green. That'll be fun. And then we'll do this foam stuff. That'll be really fun. Then the last thing we're going to put on are these people, because the people are on top of the foam. Even though they're not right up close to you, they are on top of the foam. So that's what's going to go next. And I'll show you how to skiff those white caps on. That's going to be the final part of it. It's going to be so much fun. Thanks for joining me. I hope you like it. Please leave comments. And good luck. Good painting.